Greece and Persia. They've got democracy, math, and ancestral gods. What more could you want? These two empires also use their advances in science, math, politics, art, and new technologies to usher in the Hellenistic age.
Mrs. Green! Mrs. Green!
Yes, and I mean nondescript imaginary student.
Does this mean I get rights now?
No, Helen, you're still just a woman.
Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about everything from the Ionian Revolts to the Persian War to my main man, King Darius. We're going to start with the Ionian Revolts, which were a series of uprisings in, you guessed it, Ionia. These revolts lasted from about 499 BC to 493 BC in the cities of Aeolus, Correll, Cyprus, and Doris, because there were Greeks living in this sector of the Persian Empire who weren't too keen on living in the Persian Empire. Or so it would seem. The secret driving force behind the Ionian revolts was no other than one Aristagorus, an exiled member of the Persian royal family. After cutting himself off from his higher-ups, he got into some serious debt with Artaphernes, and he had no way to repay him. Aristagorus then decided that his best bet was to distract everyone from his bad position by starting a literal war, and conveniently for him, the Ionian Greeks were a simmering pot of resentment. But why were the Greeks living in the Persian Empire, you ask? After the fall of the Mycenaean civilization, there was a bit of a dark age that caused many Greeks to flee to provinces like Ionia. Obviously, seeing as our people were living there and were the ones protesting, the Greeks took the side of the Persians, which rubbed the Persians in a way that they did not like being rubbed. At this point, Aristagorus had successfully distracted everyone from his colossal failures and started one of the most crucial wars in world history. But what exactly was happening? During the first invasion of Greece by Persia, there were two main campaigns, Mardonius and Datis and Artaphernes. If that name sounds familiar, it's because I just said it. He was, in fact, the man that Aristagorus, the instigator of the war, owed money to. He is not quite important yet, because we're going to talk about Mardonius and his campaign first. The most crucial part of his campaign happened after resubjugating Thrace and making Macedonia comply with Persian rule when he sent ambassadors to Greece to coerce the Greeks into the idea of maybe, possibly, if it's not too inconvenient, becoming part of the Persian Empire or something. So, most of the Greek city-states were cool with it, but our old friends Athens and Sparta, not so much. Basically, they said, hey, so what if we, didn't? Killed the ambassadors and sent their dead bodies back to Persia. Let me remind you that this was not preconceived and neither had any idea that the other was doing this. Talk about twinsies. This did not sit well with the Persians, and henceforth the war was in full swing. This is gonna be around 490 BC, and it's gonna be the start of Datis and Artaphernes' campaign. And it was in this year that the two were given control of an aquatic force to attack Cilicia with, but accidentally landed in Rhodes, so decided, hey, maybe we should capture Lindos. But failed miserably at that too. The fleet then sailed to Naxos in an attempt to punish them for some huge injustice done to the Persian Empire over 10 years prior. Mind you, that's half the lifespan of these people. Their pettiness aside, they wreaked havoc on the city, and many of the Greeks fled to the mountains. Those that didn't were caught and brought back to Persia as slaves. The Persians then wreaked havoc on the city, burning down the entire town and all of its temples. This smashing success of an attack led to an ego boost loosely resembling that of all the sophomores after winning the Spirit Stick 2 times in a row. They then proceeded on a sort of besiegement bar crawl, attacking various Greek islands until they were sure they had thoroughly pillaged the entire Aegean Sea. This signaled a period of interbellum where neither was really attacking the other, but they weren't exactly not attacking them either. Darius, after suffering multiple embarrassing losses and only one win, decided he was going to train this cool new super army and resubjugate all of Greece. That'll show him. Unfortunately, shortly before the invasion in Greece, Egypt was all like, hey, look at me, I'm here too, and started revolting, so Persia had to deal with that and put a rain check on the whole taking over all of Greece thing. Darius, though, did not see this as a burden, but rather a way to do further planning to humiliate Greece in all of Persian glory. He decided that the best way to do this was to alter the literal planet and build canals that would allow him to attack Greece and surround it from all sides. This launched the beginning of our next period, the second invasion of Greece. When the Persians arrived in Macedon, their overwhelmingly large army scared the Greeks into a state of retreat, much to the delight of Xerxes, who was now the head of Persia.
Now it's time for our open letter, but first let's see what's in our secret compartment. Baby on a tray? This reminds me of my dear friend Haphagus. Dear Harpagus, remember that time you were supposed to kill Cyrus the Great, but didn't, and then instead gave him to a shepherd, but then he was discovered by being great, so his grandpa acted like he didn't pay you to execute him, then returned him to his parents, then invited you over to hang and have dinner? Yeah, well, that roast beef was your son. Sorry, Harpagus. Sincerely, John Green.
This then led to the Battle of Thermopylae, where the Persians were forced to enter through a narrow pass and gave the Greeks a way to attack them. After winning this battle, this led to a sudden surge in confidence in Greek counterattacks in Mycale, Ionia, Sestos, Cyprus, and Byzantium. The Greeks did eventually lose the war, though, and side effects of this outcome may include, but are not limited to, total embarrassment, loss of any and all bragging rights, and most importantly, creation of the Delian League, when the Greek city-states banded together for a brief but prosperous period of centralized government and imperialism. Though the original purpose of the League was to protect Greece from future invasions and vindictively plot against the Persians, Athens, the obvious demagogue of the group, started to take advantage of its control over the League for personal and war purposes. This led to the inevitable breakup of the League and the Peloponnesian War. The Hellenistic period started in 332 BC with the death of Alexander the Great and ended in 31 BC with the Battle of Actium. This was when Greek culture reached its peak in Europe, Asia, and Africa. With great advances in art, literature, exploration, science, theater, architecture, philosophy, music, and math. This is also when many scrolls were transferred to the Library of Alexandria to preserve any past knowledge. Sadly, though, in 48 BC, the library burned down along with all of the information inside of it. Throughout the Hellenistic period, though, Athens remained the center of Greek culture for years. The spread of the Hellenistic age was largely due to a rise in new cities, trade routes, military science, and blended religions. One example of these blended religions was the way that Egyptian gods and Jewish worship practices bled into Greek religion. The Hellenistic age also brought about a new genre of literature in the form of new comedy. This included stories of romance, luck, and escapism. In all of these ways and more, the Hellenistic era has pretty much shaped modern culture and society.
This crash course is produced and directed by Ashley Correll, Lindsea Eggen, and Anna Hearne. Our script supervisor is my dog Lucy, and graphics by this random website we found on the internet. And this show is written by us with influence from our high school AP World teacher, Mr. Thompson. Our phrase of the week is "Please give me an A." And if you would like to guess next week's phrase of the week, please do so in the comments. If you have any questions about this crash course, please Google them because we don't know the answer. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to give us an A.
Gotta finish the song.
Literally, Denise and Dave probably know their secrets about boys.
I hate everything.
Secret driving force behind the Persian War, and it actually wasn't the resentment of the Greeks, because yes, I will marry you.
You can end it.